Okay, good day or evening, depending on what time it is at your place again. I was told that my previous video in which I was demonstrating how to start a mini base was hard to hear, so I'm going to try and do this whole thing all over again. I'm sorry about that. I assumed it was going to be okay, but apparently the audio of the game itself was kind of drowning out my voice. So this time I'm sitting closer to the microphone, and I also turned down the game audio a little bit. So let's try and see how it goes this time. What we're doing today is the start of a mini outpost. I made 5 of those already. They're in a video that I will link to in the description of this video. And a lot of people want to know how do you do this? How do you neatly set this up so that the base computer is hidden and it all looks nice and tidy? So we're going to do that in this video. Now we're going to start out, I always start out in the same kind of way because all these bases follow what I would call a design pattern that's always the same. We start out by drilling a hole, something like this. We kind of want it to be about 1 floor deep. This is almost too deep, so let me fix that a little bit because we don't want it to be too deep. Now what I'm going to do next is place the base computer. There we go, base computer. Put it here. I think that's about 1 floor deep, and then we need to claim that, of course. So we're going to do that. We're claiming that. This is going to be my base. This has a really nice view of this planet. I kind of like this. I might actually keep this and turn this into my 6th mini base. We'll see. I mean, look at that view. That's magic. It's absolutely majestic. Beautiful. Anyway, let's get started with this thing so that we don't take an hour. Now that we have the base computer and it's claimed, we're going to basically encase it in a concrete structure. So I'm going to do that right here. The first thing we're going to do is stick a floor under that base computer. We're going to try and do that as neatly as we can. And as it turns out, we can't do that at all right now. So I'm going to mine away a little bit more material. That shouldn't, yeah, now the base computer is kind of floating. But yeah, now we can do it. Now we're in business. Let me see. So we'll try to, I kind of try to get it as close as I can to those feet so it really looks like it's standing on concrete. This looks pretty good. That's pretty good. So now we have a concrete, yeah, it's a little bit higher, but you know, you can play with this to get it perfect, but for this demo it's good enough for me, so I'm gonna go with it. I'm going to basically encase this whole thing in a concrete box. You could, if you want, you could use wood or metal as well, but I like concrete for this. I just kind of feels realistic, you know, it's buried under the ground. Concrete works for me, but you use whatever you want. I'm going to wait with the roof because first I'm going to do the next step, which is to attach a corridor here. See if I can get that to snap here. Yeah, there we go. So now I snapped a corridor in here. And this is probably going to end up sticking out. I kind of like that here. Normally this would be underground and then you work your way up, but it's all the same, so I'm just going to go with this because this is going to look pretty cool with this view here coming out of the ground basically. Now I'm going to put a roof on there, and now I'm going to use my terrain manipulator to basically fill this whole thing back up. So we're going to restore this whole thing. It fell straight under the ground like nothing ever happened. There we go. A little bit more. Completely buried. We only have a piece sticking out here, a very, very small piece sticking out. This is going to be cool, I think. This is going to be a new kind. Now the last thing we do is attach a cuboid room. Ta-da! There we go. The cuboid room. And then we're basically ready to go. Now here, this is interesting. Normally, let's see. Now from this cuboid room, you start building upwards or forwards, whatever you want. But basically the core structure is here. Now here under the ground, we have that buried base computer in a little room with a corridor leading to a cuboid. So now, let's say we want to put, it's going to put a round prefab room on here. It snaps right on. Now in this case, I'm going to, let me see where I can put the door, because if we put it on the outside over there, then we're going to fall straight out. Kind of, let's put that here. Here, hollow door, okay. And, ooh, this is kind of scary for people who are afraid of heights. Interesting setup here, but it'll work, it'll work. It's going to work for me. So now you can get in here and, well, let's put a nice, oh, not that one, I don't like that one that much. A nice window here, so we have this gorgeous view here. Now look at that. So we have this mini base here with an absolutely astonishing view. Now, this is basically it. This is the beginning of a mini/micro base. The only thing, let me show you still this, is we like hiding things away, right? So we nicely hid the base computer. So when I go in here, we can see that it's that way. So let's put a ladder down. There we go. Now we can go nicely down. And you can always get to this base computer. Now you'll see some excess terrain here, which we can just simply mine away. So we clean this. This room is nice and tidy now. There we go. Okay, so now we have a nice, easy access to this computer, but you don't see it sitting around anywhere. Basically, you could make this a different kind of door if you want to. But one thing that's nice when it ends up sitting kind of high, it's another little trick that I've been using, is to put something under it to make it look a little bit more realistic, because now it's like floating in space basically, which is kind of weird because we're on a planet. Now what I like to do is use the workbench. Where is it? Come on, man. Okay, there we go. Use this workbench. You can scale this to a size where it'll look, it'll kind of look like it's sitting on something. I mean, this is just detail, right? If you want it to look a little bit more realistic. So now it looks more like it's sitting on something, you know, little detail. Alright, so we've got that. This is actually really nice. I might definitely consider keeping this. Here it's a little scary, so I would probably figure out some kind of ledge or something here. Yeah, it's pretty scary. Alright, the last thing I would show you here is to power this thing up nicely. I mean, if you have a giant EM hotspot nearby, you could use that, of course, but it kind of defeats the whole mini slash micro purpose. You kind of wanted this thing to be self-sustaining, self-supporting. So let's stick a cube on top here, and you could put it anywhere you want, but I've been putting them on top for most of my projects. Sorry for this. And now let's stick a door in here. Yeah, there we go. I need some more distance. Okay, so door. Now we can go in here, and what we would do is pick a battery. There we go. So I don't have the materials right now, but you can see here that you could 1, 2, 3. You could stack 3, 3, and then in the middle 1 or 2 more. And if you really need more, you can even stack some more on top. You can stack quite a lot of batteries in this room, which can hold all the power you need for when it's night. Because during the day we're using solar panels, of course. Now, once you've stuffed this thing with batteries, you just take the door away and you never have to open this ever again. You don't have to wire anything up because these are prefab rooms and there's no wiring needed. So that works automatically. Same thing goes for the solar panels. Like what I do is I use these markings here to line them up nicely. So for example, you have this thin little metal ridge here, so what I do is I line them up like this, and then you line the other one up like this. So you see that outlet pointing. It looks kind of nice if you do that. You can do more. I don't have enough material, but you could stick like 6 or so of them on there. What will happen is it'll power your base, and it'll also charge those batteries, so the whole thing, now that it's daytime, is already powered up. You see the doors working, and with a bunch of those batteries in there, when the day is over, it'll just keep working. So you have a completely self-sustaining base with batteries, but there's no wires and there's no ugly batteries visible. You could bury this whole thing under the ground as well. You could go crazy, do whatever you want. The solar panels can also be buried under the ground, I've been told. I personally like to have them visible because it looks more realistic, but if you really don't want any of this power to be visible, you could get the whole thing somewhere underground, as long as it's connected to the prefab structure with cuboids or prefab rooms. Right, so from there I'm going to leave you. I think from here you will be able to go crazy, go wild, do fun, cool things, and make a cool looking base. You're not going to be able to do it in this amazing spot here because I claimed it and I think I'm going to keep it. Interesting, it's giving me this abandoned building notice, but it's because there's one all the way down over there. Anyway, I hope the audio is better this time. I hope you could hear me, and good luck building your micro base.